You're listening to
Catholic Sprouts,
the daily podcast for Catholic kids that strives to plant seeds of faith. Hey there, Sprouts. Today is Wednesday, January 6th, 2020. It is also the feast day of another incredible North American saint. The saint comes from Canada, Saint Andre Bessette. Now, all week we have been talking about the domestic church, the idea that all families are called to be a special institution created by God, an institution where we can become holy because He is there, and this is called the domestic church. Mothers model themselves after Mary. Fathers model themselves after God the Father and Saint Joseph, who was chosen to be the foster father of Jesus. Now, the third part of a family, of course, are the children. And we have an incredible saint to talk about today, and we can draw some great insights into how we can become, all of us, become more childlike and more holy, especially within our domestic church. So Saint Andre Bessette was born in Canada, and he had a pretty unremarkable life, really. He was born very poor, very frail, and he wasn't very smart. In fact, he tried all sorts of jobs to support himself in his early life, but he failed at almost all of them. He either wasn't smart enough or strong enough. The one thing that St. Andre Bessette was very good at is that he was very prayerful. Eventually, he decided to join an order of monks, and they almost didn't accept him because he just wasn't smart enough, and he was so sickly. They thought very soon he would become ill, and they'd be forced to take care of him. Thankfully, they saw his devout nature, and they accepted him. And he lived the rest of his life as a monk doing very humble work, like cleaning bathrooms and sweeping floors. And he spent 40 years of his life working as a doorkeeper, meaning he was at a university and it was his job to open the door. Now, very humble work. He had no delusions of grandeur or pride. He knew he was a simple man, and he knew that everything came from Jesus. Jesus was his best friend. And he also was very, very close to Saint Joseph. He depended on this saint and on our Savior, Jesus Christ. And guess what? Because there was no pride standing in the way, God began to work incredible miracles through St. Andre Bessette. He became known as a wonder worker. Of course, he was always very clear that these miracles weren't happening because of any special ability he had. He always gave credit to his patron, St. Joseph, and of course, to Jesus Christ. But many miracles were attributed to him, and people would come to this university knowing that he would open the door and really hoping that miracles would happen, and often they did. So what can we learn from the example of St. Andre Bessette? Well, we are all children of God, parents and children alike, and we can all learn that it is through humility, through a total dependence on God, that incredible things can happen. And that oftentimes miracles don't occur because we are standing in the way. And so, Sprouts, tomorrow and the next day, we are going to talk about what it actually means to be a domestic church as a family. But we are going to finish today by really focusing on what it means to be a child in a domestic church through the example of St. Andre Bessette. Humble, dependent on God, joyful, and prayerful. That's what it means to be a child of God, and that's what we are all called to be within our domestic church. And so, Sprouts, today on the Feast of St. Andre Bessette, I challenge you to pray a Glory Be, that short little prayer, but pray it for yourself, that you can be more like St. Andre Bessette and a joyful, dependent child of God. That's it for Catholic Sprouts today. We'll be back tomorrow, but until then, continue to grow in your faith and truly sprout into the beautiful creation that God created you to be. Just one more thing. Our brand new app, the Domestic Church Project app, is available right now. We are enrolling families to go through the Domestic Church Project Boot Camp through January 6th at midnight. So if you would like to be part of this incredible experience that has already transformed families and given them the real blueprint that any family can use to build their domestic church, please join us. You can find more at domesticchurchproject.com. If you missed this enrollment window or this simply wasn't quite the right moment for your family, please know that we will be opening the doors back up for the boot camp right around Ash Wednesday, so you can join us at that time.